Hi, and welcome to Empowerment Unleashed Now. I'm Michele Jones, and I'm here with
Scott Collins.
And dun, 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 dun. You might know him as Santa Claus. You might know him as Steve Roehm.
Hello, hello.
Hello, Steve. Thank you. Thank you for being a friend of the show. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for inviting me back.
Thank you for coming on. And we are into Pisces season, which is, as I'm coining it, what did I call it, Scott? The ocean of emotion?
Yes.
Yeah. And so, I'm really needing to do a reframe. Every single Pisces listening was just turned us off. So one of the things that I'm here to talk about today is letting go of emotional baggage around Pisces season, learning to let go. And one of the things that I find really interesting is that, okay, Scott, I'm going to put you on the spot. I'm sure you're shocked.
Pisces moon, bring it on.
Ooh, I forgot. God, the master is in the house. All right, dude, you're my this. So you're going to answer this one. What is emotional baggage?
So I believe that can come in multiple forms. I believe, and that the way it's embedded in us on our first entry into this flesh suit largely is in the form of karma. So that is one of the, especially in Pisces season, something to be very conscious of, but also in an empowering way to know and realize that clearing that in this life, clearing it in one life, will apply to all your lives, all your past lives in parallel. You clear the karma here, you change it, you make that ascension step here, then it applies to all the timelines.
Such a spiritual Piscean answer from you, my 19-degree wise Pisces bro.
Comes with massive opportunity every year.
And you're a fan. Okay, so that's your definition. Now I'm going to ask you, Steve. What is emotional baggage, Steve?
What is emotional baggage? It's a good question. I'm not going to go into the multiple lives thing or to Pisces or that's not really where I live. So
we know that.
What's that?
We know you live in the North Pole.
We know where you live.
I think that emotional baggage is the experience that doesn't have correct perspective.
Maybe some lingering shadows of past experiences.
Past experience that hasn't been framed in a way that is beneficial at this point. Because everything we go through is there to teach us something. So if we can extract the information from that and the lesson from those things, then I think we have a much better chance of stepping away from them. I'm not going to say that, emotional baggage doesn't hurt, because it can. And it can still be painful even after we understand the lesson. But I think that it's experience with lack of perspective.
Yeah, I agree. Because when you shift that perspective, it can become emotional information as opposed to baggage, especially if you lean into the likelihood that that experience is something you yourself attracted, and to have that emotional information, then you are attracted to that experience in order to grow and ascend. It happened for you instead of to you at that point.
That's it. Yeah. A large part of what I do with my clients is help them find new perspective on things.
Yeah, that's massive.
I mean, as the old saying goes, right? Like holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. I think that we toss around this concept of emotional baggage very readily in our culture. I think that they brought a lot of baggage with them, like, oh, that's super heavy. Like, what we resist, it persists. Like, we have like these little phrases that I actually think is negative reinforcement of holding on to emotional baggage. I think that sometimes it gives people, and Scott, you and I had a conversation about this, like this righteous indignation almost, like this very, like, oh, it helps me keep my edge, or whatever it is that we mistakenly tell ourselves about emotional baggage. Because the question that I was going to ask now is, what isn't emotional baggage?
Everything that isn't that.
Yeah. I agree. It all is or isn't.
What does
How you choose to experience it. I mean, if you choose to have it as information, then there's no baggage anywhere in any emotion. If you
it's just learning.
yes.
Maybe
Yeah,
it's not even
the word baggage alone is like, the heaviness, the block.
So emotional baggage. I just want to really break this down. Like, why don't we call it feeling baggage?
Okay. Why
No,
don't
I mean, really. I mean, why don't we call it bullshit baggage? Like,
no, I bet.
I think that's closer. I think you're closer. Yeah.
Yeah.
right? So like that was something that I did like when I was jotting notes for this show. I'm like an X. I put it through like emotional. I was like, and I was like, this is really the bullshit baggage. Like, this is our belief system, lowest vibration nonsense that is lingering because it hasn't been learned from, hasn't been integrated. And what do we get from it?
Could be a lot of things.
Okay.
Identity.
Suffering. If it's bullshit baggage, you're going to get a lot of suffering.
Wow. So this is like two like huge ranges. So we had one that this is like identity, like a victimization identity of sorts.
It could be that. Yeah.
What else could it be, Steve?
Well, people love their pain because it serves a purpose. And we hold on to things because it benefits us in some way, or we wouldn't. The pain that we carry around gives us different frames and experience in life, the way we think about things, the way we think about ourselves, the way we think about the way the world treats us. So the pain and the identity in that can affect everything that we perceive. It can filter out we can look through the filter of that and distort reality as well.
So it could become your lenses.
It certainly, of course. Yeah.
And Scott, what was your answer?
Well, I mean, something like pain, I think if you're able to, again, experience it from a form of information, then no different than joy, it is information. If you can, you can access a state of neutrality from either one of those things, process the experience and the feeling, and use it for a learning step, just as the emotion that it is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, what's the gauge on what is emotional baggage? Like, what's the barometer? Is it how we feel in our body? Is it our inner self dialogue? Is it the externalization of those things? Is it all of those things and more?
I think it's all those things and more.
What say you, Steve?
Uh, what is emotional baggage? Well, it's I think it's I'll say this: it is an opportunity for us to grow with perspective. But like Scott was talking about it a minute ago, it's without having that perspective, we can get caught up in it, and it becomes a reality for us too. So what is it? It's a bunch of bullshit we don't need, but we can grow out of it. It's something we needed at some point, but probably doesn't serve us well anymore. That it was an experience that we had that we held on to. It can cause feelings in the body, but not necessarily. It can filter our experience and give us a lens and that we can look through that can change our perspective, perception of everything around us. It it can define who we are
Mistakenly.
mistakenly. Yeah, and until there's perspective from it, I think there needs to be a dissociation from it to give perspective for it. And that's where you can have learning, because then you're not caught up in it. You're stepping back, giving it a distant look and saying, what can I take from this, rather than, oh, this is mine. Because we get caught up in emotions and think those emotions are real. Excuse me. Just like we think thoughts are real. Thoughts are just a bunch of bullshit going by on a screen. But people get caught up in their thoughts all the time and think they're a reality.
Mm-hmm.
When you can step back and become the observer of your experience rather than being so caught up in it, then you can do something different with it.
Mm-hmm. Because many of the things that we think about, we bring about.
Sure.
I
mean, if nothing else, through our perception of the reality around us, because we start to filter out everything that isn't that.
Mm-hmm. And that third person perspective, that detachment, that removal of it, observing, pardon?
Dissociation.
Dissociation from it. I think
Attached is that like the word I like to use for that? Non-attached from it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, like baggage by nature, by definition, it's something you haven't let go of. It hasn't been processed or integrated, and it's still there. So, and usually in a triangle of hypnotists here, it's in the unconscious mind, right? It's usually hanging out somewhere there, especially the deeper it was or the longer it's been hanging around or more traumatic it was, the more likelihood it hangs out deeper in your unconscious and in your cellular level. But still, it's baggage nonetheless, and not been processed. There are tools and techniques to try to access it. Hypnosis, of course, one. Plant medicine is one. But once you let go of it, it's not baggage.
Yeah, that's really where those lingering shadows that I started to talk about, like of past experiences that sometimes quietly, sometimes very loudly influence where we currently are. I think that the detachment from those emotions and getting some perspective and then observing yourself without any judgment, right? And then looking at oneself and saying, how is this serving me? What is this doing for me? What is this not doing for me? I personally think that just the word baggage, I mean, who wants to go to baggage claim? Like, you want to go claim your baggage? Like, I think that's why I just like have gotten into this carry-on mode. Like, I just, got back like from like a trip with like women, and everybody had like enough suitcases. Like, we were going away for like a month, and I had my carry-on. Now, mind you, I did have to ship a few things home from shopping, but I had my carry-on because I have decided I don't want to do baggage claim anymore. Why in the good Lord's name would I want to claim baggage as mine? It just sounds icky. Ugh, baggage claim. So I'm wondering, if you don't claim it, what happens? Like, if you just let it go and you just say, I'm going to unclaim this. Like, you can decide these things. Right, Steve? I mean, you can decide to do that.
I think you can make that decision, but I think until you take what you need from it, then you're not fully going to release it.
Well, I'm suggesting that you have learned.
Oh, well, yeah. In that case, I think you just open the baggage up, dump the shit on the floor, pick out what you need of it, throw the rest away.
Right. And I guess the vessel for that would be allowing yourself to feel it, right? Allow yourself to feel it first, and then let it go.
You have to feel the baggage?
I think that's a way to do
Yes, you have
it.
to feel the experience, if that's what we're calling it. That's the analogy, the metaphor is the experience. Then you have to feel the experience.
I think that's a way to approach it.
Yeah.
What's another way to approach it, Steve?
To not feel it and dissociate enough from it. So
That is one way.
That's just the way I've worked with my clients over the years, because I don't want, when I'm working with like a trauma, I want my clients to be dissociated enough from it that they're not in the middle of it, because number one, they probably beat themselves up enough with it already. They've been through so many iterations of it that they understand how to do it very well. And I want to get them so far away from it that they're not connected to it anymore.
So you're talking about reinvestigating something that's a past trauma. That makes sense.
Yeah.
If you're experiencing in the moment, the way you eliminate having to deal with past trauma is to actually feel it in the moment and get used to that aptitude of being in the moment.
Being in the moment.
Then you don't have to then you won't even have the baggage to begin with.
I completely agree with that. Yes.
Yeah.
Now we're speaking the same language. Yeah. If you can handle it in the moment, do it, be done with it, move on. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Because it never becomes baggage that way.
When it doesn't become it. But yeah, you have to be sensitive if you're going back to the scene of the crime.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so in the moment, we always talk about that's where all the power is, right? It's in this now. What would you advise for people to stay present, even in that deep emotion where you almost want to pull on back? Do you take an observer position? Can you still remain in the now? I personally think you can. I will try to do that more than I have as of late, because I think neutrality is a really valuable position, especially when people are supercharged, as they are, one way or the other. What are you thinking, bro? You look really like...
Yeah. I think a couple things about that. One way to help, if an understanding of boundaries in those moments. Yeah.
Right.
like creating them around you if you need them, depending on what that experience is and who it is with and those kind of things. Boundaries and what you've already established can help. But then, and there's an acronym. I know it's been used by a few people now. I think there was a Buddhist monk that created it called RAIN. You're probably both familiar with that. But I think in these situations, in the moment, it's very powerful to RAIN, which is recognize, experience what you're feeling, right? Accept or allow. I like accept even better, but accept or allow, and then investigate what's underneath this. What's going on here? And then non-attach. That's the neutrality or the dissociation you were talking about, Steve. So rain, make it rain. Purple rain.
Yeah.
Yes.
Crown chakra rain.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's really helping to embrace the fullness of
And not judge too. Yeah. And not judge. The non-attachment is the biggest thing. You can have so much self-compassion. You don't judge yourself in those moments for what you're feeling or like being uncomfortable or wanting to cry or whatever it is, anger, whatever. Because if you accept it, allow it, then you can let go of it pretty fast instead of like punching somebody or running somebody over.
I don't know. It's got its moments. Not running anybody over.
Oh my. Oh me, oh my. Let's just breathe in a little sense of compassion and breathe.
Nothing wrong with having a punching bag.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, you can work through a lot of things if you can hit something.
A bag is a good thing to hit.
It really, I mean, seriously, having that outlet to be able to let that energy.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that. Get it out in the moment.
Yeah. I was also thinking about like maybe just like writing some things down, tearing them up, burning them. It's a very female response as opposed to.
Yeah. No, I'd really go punch the bag. Be done with it. Then come back and write. There's,
Good though. I agree. Like movement of any form, like, I mean, that's the nature of martial arts, like movement and things like that can be really good to work it out of viscerally work it out of your body. Yoga, go take a run. Those are any practices. If you're a creative person, not just writing, like writing creatively, like writing a poem, writing a song, writing anything like prose. And then if you're a ritualistic person, I love what you mentioned, Michele, write it and burn the fucker. Like show that sacred ritual to the universe that this is no longer baggage. This isn't even in a casket. Yeah. It's ashes. Yeah. Like that's like very symbolic, and it is including the elements which have power in our lives to like put them out there,
Yep. Put it into a guitar, go beat some drums. Go
Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever works for you in the moment, just to get it out. Writing works for you. Go sing if you want to. So scream. Or I was going to say, scream into that there.
Thing.
Yeah. Gestalt therapy was all about beating up pillows. I mean,
another technique I can offer is breath in those situations.
Yes, thank you.
Even if you just learn one, like there are different breathing techniques and breath work exercises. The ones that I'm most closely at heart to are pranayama, but you can pick one or two that like you really just have as an instinctive gut response to those situations, and just deep breath. 10 seconds of it, 20 seconds, you'd be shocked of what it can do for realignment of your mind and gut and heart, and maybe help you rain or something like that. But like a deep breath, we've all heard somebody say it, or parents or teacher or whatever. Breathe.
It's important.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Under duress it's sounds like an aggressive word, but it's a weapon against duress. And it's a weapon that can help you maintain the moment.
Yeah. My dad practiced yoga for a very long time, still practices. And one of the things that he told me is that most people breathe like they're paying for it. Now,
I love your dad.
that is like such a profound way of looking at breath, is that, it's like, oh God, I don't know if I want to take it in deep one because it's going to cost me extra. Like what? And there's a real scarcity that I would say is part of emotional baggage, possibly, that goes with it. So like breathe like it's free, because it actually is. And it's one of the best things that you could do to help let it go. And I use visualization for myself. So I will literally visualize like a cord, that I might have that's attached to something that I want detachment from. And I'll just just chop it. And for me, it'll be kind of like in a very dramatic, like I might have I don't need to take y'all into that part of my mind, but I do some very significant things to let me know that it's cut. And there's a completion to it for me that I think is really integral in my visualizations.
What's one thing you do that could help people to let that it's cut?
That lets me know it's cut?
Yeah, that informs you this.
God. All right. So in Jurassic Park.
Asking for a friend.
Just asking for a friend. So Jurassic Park. I had read the book before I went to see the film. And I knew that it was not like a Disney film for kids. I knew it. And I've always been fascinated by dinosaurs. And I legitimately will picture a velociraptor like just coming in and cutting it. And very dramatic. Okay. And it's because it scares me. And I don't know if you can understand that, but it's almost like the shock value of it. And in my mind, why the hell would I want to hang on to anything that a velociraptor would want to get hold of? It's just, it's scary. I don't want to be on the other side of that. Like, I'm going to fight the velociraptor for it. Like, take it, man. Like, I don't want it. And so like, whatever, I have a very cartoony sense of how I do things in my mind. It makes it funny. And for me, it lightens it a little bit, because some of the cord cutting is some deep shit that I don't always know I need to go into the depths of. I just know that it doesn't make my heart feel good. And as long as I've learned that, that's enough sometimes for me. It just doesn't make my heart feel good. Enter Velociraptor. That's okay. I mean, like, what, so, and again, the inner workings, I'm sure that's not at all the answer, bro. It's like a few weeks ago when we were in Palm Springs and I was like, where are we, Scott? And you're like, we're at 0 Pluto in Aquarius. I'm like, I I know that the Velociraptor answer is probably, it's not like a technique I use with a client or anything. Like you asked me, like, what do I do? It's just like what I do.
Well, I love that. What that says to me is anybody can be as creative as they want with their technique. Like whatever does that for you, you can be out there with it.
Right.
Yeah.
You know those
When you feel it, it made you feel like the job's done, and that's
it's complete.
the thing. Yeah, it's
You
complete.
know those big scissors that they use, like they're opening up like a new city or something. Like, oh, cut the cord. That's another thing that I'll use as a visualization is like these giant like scissors that are as big as me.
Mm-hmm.
Just comes in.
Cut the cord.
I'm obviously very visual.
Yeah.
And it cuts the cord. And so you might not ask me this anymore, but I do ask myself in all seriousness, what does this part of me that's experiencing this attachment, this emotional baggage, what part of me, like, what does this part of me need in order to let it go? What? And it's interesting because a lot of times the answer is forgiveness.
Mm-hmm. Is it important at all to know why you needed it in the first place?
I probably wouldn't dwell on.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying that that's right or wrong. I mean, you're asking me personally. I would think that I attracted it
Mm-hmm.
and I brought it forward. And as long as my learning is complete, I go with what Steve said, like detach, disassociate.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Is that the right answer?
I don't know. I don't think there is a right.
It works for you.
It was good to you though. That resonates. Yeah.
I mean,
It works for you.
Yeah.
I think that's like what we want to communicate to the listeners is that there's not like one size fits all.
Right, or a right or wrong. Because that gets kind of polarizing and judgmental. And you can judge yourself if you're making the right or wrong decision.
Uh-huh.
That can be like a form of handcuffs, right and wrong. That's how they are. One on one hand, one on the other. They're limiting. It's a limiting belief.
That's an interesting thing too. Because I would say that emotional baggage is probably the wheelhouse of most limiting beliefs. I think it's where they're stored.
Unclaimed baggage.
Claimed.
Unclaimed.
Well claimed, really.
Well claimed.
Yeah.
Owned.
Completely claimed. Yeah.
Closet full.
Yeah.
Never unpacked from my previous trip.
Yeah.
Oh my God, how long does it take to unpack? I mean, really, I think that having perspective and having someone that sits beside us can help to shine a light also, because I think sometimes the emotional baggage seems super heavy and almost having somebody witness that process of exploration and reclaiming back like a more empowered posture when you do let it go. I don't know. I just think that the less that we carry or the more lightly that we travel, literally the light of us can shine through our existence that much brighter. I think that emotional baggage is super heavy. It lowers our vibe. It lowers our frequency. And I just want to invite people in this 9-year numerologically of completions and beginnings to feel like whatever it is that you're emotionally carrying that is no longer serving you. Like one of the favorite things, Steve, that I think you say often is like to clients and to other people, what do you want? What do you want? And that to me is the starting point of kind of measuring how this emotional baggage is or isn't serving you.
I think it's important to consider it in considering that question. What is it you want for the future? Because when I ask that question to most of my clients, they largely respond with everything they don't.
Oh. Uh-huh.
Because most people are running away from the things they don't want rather than running towards the things that they think they want. And if you're always staring in the rearview mirror while you're driving down the road, you're going to run into something else. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's very, very, very true and very profound. Do you think, Steve, that the reason that so many people are facing the rear view, if you will, and that's their purview is because of the emotional baggage that they're carrying?
I think, yeah, good part of it. We have a negative bias, though.
Mm-hmm.
People have a tendency to focus on the negative. It's just kind of the way we're programmed. And people don't focus necessarily on the destination they're headed towards. They're just running away from home all the time. You know, it's like going on vacation. And, you know, if somebody asks you if you're going on vacation, they'll say you're going to Florida. And you say, where are you going? They're like, well, I'm not going to be here. Oh, that doesn't give any information about where they're headed, how they're going to get there, what they're going to be experiencing. They just know that this is not what I want now. And if you never make a decision of where you're headed, then you're never going to get anywhere else. At least not by choice. You know,
That's right. With that.
serendipity in life can bring all kinds of things to you, but you may not want them. And if you're not moving in the direction you want to go, when things do happen and you're not prepared for it, then you end up with more damn baggage.
Yeah. Steve, do you have a tip that you can give to listeners to discerning what is emotional baggage within them when they bump up against
Well,
something
it
different?
it can present itself as a feeling that comes up. It could present itself as a behavior as well, without necessarily having the feelings behind it. You know, where the behavior that they have is there to support, or I don't want. Well, yeah, I'll go with support the belief that they have based on the stuff that they're carrying around with them, because we know that all behaviors have a positive intention behind them, right? So every behavior is doing something for us in some way. And if we're carrying around a bunch of baggage, a bunch of trauma, a bunch of bullshit that we don't need anymore, but those behaviors are still based on the stuff that we've done in the past, the beliefs we have about ourselves because of that, then it may not be creating the life that we really think we want.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. Super
So,
profound.
so just forget to remember all the things that you thought you were thinking about. Just do everything else that you want to. Now it's going to make you feel good, so you know you're moving in the right direction, right? You know.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah, I agree. I think feelings
Ooh. Master Yoda, you're lagging.
You check in. You want to check in. How do I feel right now? And then ask yourself, how do I want to feel?
May I
One in the same.
may I change
They're
that?
doing the same. It might not be baggage. If they are different, it might be baggage. And then choose the tone of how you want to feel. And that's what you want to anchor into. Really become.
I agree with most of what you said. However, I would
That's
ask
a
what's
compliment.
happening now instead of how are you feeling now? How am I feeling now?
Yeah. Is it? Yeah.
What's that?
I'm feeling now. And then
Well,
all day. Is that how
when you
feel?
open,
Yeah.
but yeah, exactly. But you have to open up the field for them so they understand how they're actually experiencing the experience they're having. Is it visual? Is it auditory? Is it kinesthetic? What's
I'm
really
talking
transpiring with
person
them?
to
So
ask
they.
that of themselves. I think.
Well, no, it's what I mean.
Self. If it's an inside out job, that's how we empower ourselves to do it. Yeah.
Right, but what's happening still gives us a chance to explore it in a different way rather than just coming at it directly from feeling, because maybe something else is going on inside and the way you're experiencing it.
Mhm.
So just my perspective.
Both valid.
I agree.
Both valid. Well, Steve Roehm, where do we find you if we want to let go of some emotional baggage?
I am always right here. And if you want to connect with me, then you can find me at NashvilleHypnosis.com. Probably the quickest way, or on all the socials under Steve Roehm, Roehm. It is mispronounced incorrectly by us as well. So, but yeah, NashvilleHypnosis.com.
Thank you so much, Steve and Scott.
Yeah. Thank you, Steve. You're our most, I should say, cherished guest. You've been with us the most often. I feel like you some jacket or like some stripes on your shirt or something.
This is number 4, isn't it? So
Yeah.
I think I do.
You're like,
I did get the number 5 jacket, don't I?
Yeah. So deep bow, and it's just always an honor and pleasure. And you bring out a lot in the conversations with us. I'm really grateful.
I appreciate you having me on. Always so. Yeah, thank you all.
Thank you so much. And I think, Steve, that we're going to have a t-shirt made for you from Empowerment Unleashed Now, exploring your inner authority. I think that might be what the 5th time guest gets. That might be something that we work on for next time. All right, my brother Scott, are you going to lead us on out with an affirmation?
You got it.
Thanks, sir.
I am capable of powerful, positive change, although I am perfect as I am. I know what I feel. I know what I want to feel, and I know the difference between the two. I hold the tone of how I want to feel. I love me. I'm flexible. I'm not falling apart. I'm coming together. I'm abundant. I'm sovereign. I travel light. I'm free.
Thank you so much. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing this time and space with us. Please remember to like, share, subscribe. Have a magnificent, empowering week. We look forward to seeing you and speaking with you soon. Peace and blessings, y'all. Thank you.
Love you guys. Peace.
Bye-bye.